Hi everyone, I am Radhika. Welcome back to DataZard. Today we are going to be solving Workout Wednesday 2022 Week 7 challenge, which is around parallel sets using Sankey charts. So without further ado, let's get started. As always, the first step is to get data into Power BI. So for that, I'm clicking on import data from Excel because my data is in the form of an Excel file, and I'll choose the file and click on open. We're going to select the first table, which is data 2021 job title task time, and click on transform data to open the Power Query editor. Firstly, the top two rows, they do not contain any information that we need. So that is why I'm going to remove top rows by going into remove rows and click on remove top rows. And we need to remove two rows. So I'll put in two here and click on OK. Now we can change the headers by clicking on here and use first row as headers so that our headers are all right. Next, we need to remove any rows that contain blank answer for a few columns. So the first column is role multiple choice composite. So I'll click on the downward arrow here and untick the null checkbox and click on OK. Next column will be time worked. So I'll again click on this down arrow and untick the null checkbox and click on OK. And the last column is time producing whiz. So I'll click on here and untick the null checkbox and click on OK. Next, in this role column, we need to replace values. So we need to replace this leadership value. So for that, I'll just copy this first, and then I'll right click on this column and click on replace values. So the value to find is the one that we copied right now, and we need to replace it by leadership, and I'll click on OK. Next value that we need to replace is teacher. So I'll again right click on this column and click on replace values. We need to find teacher and replace it with academia by teacher. So replace it with this and I'll click on OK. Now we have done all these three steps. The next step is use Power Query to generate a final table that contains three columns: source, target, and count. Count should represent the distinct count of alt ID values. The source column should contain the values for role multiple choice composite and time worked. So these are the two columns that we need to sum. And then the target column should contain values for time worked and time producing whiz, which is where the data flows to. And the final table will contain these many rows. So what I will do is I'll create a source table for these two columns, and then I'll create another table for time worked and time producing whiz column, and then I'm going to append these two queries. So I'll show you in the Power Query editor. Now let us select the columns that we need. So first is role multiple choice composite, then time worked, time producing whiz, and alt ID. And then I'll right click and click on remove other columns. Now that we have these, let us just combine them so that we know how many responses were given for this combination. So I will right click here and click on group by, and then I'll choose add advanced as we need to group it by multiple columns. So I'll choose all three columns over here, and we need to count distinct rows, and I'll click on OK. So it will give us for journalist 30 to 39 hours and 11 to 20 hours in time producing whiz. There were 8 respondents. Now I will just duplicate this table, and in here we need to keep these two columns as source. So again, I'll have to use group by. So I'll right click and click on group by and go to advanced, and we need to group by role multiple choice composite and time worked column, and this time the operation should be sum, as we have already counted the number of respondents with this combination of these three answers. So we can now sum this up, and we need to sum this by the count column that we have created earlier and click on OK. So now this one would be our source column, this one would be our target column, and this is the count column. I will again duplicate this, and for this time I'm going to group by time worked and time producing whiz columns. So I'll again right click here and click on group by, click on advanced as we need to group by multiple columns. So this time it is time worked and time producing ways. And the operation should be sum and sum of the count column. And I'll click on OK. I'll again rename these as source and target. And this one is count. Now that we have these two queries, we can just append them. So I'll go to home and click on append queries. Append queries as new. And we need two tables. First table is our two table and this one is the three table, and click on OK. And I will rename this as data and untick the enable load as we do not want these queries to load in our Power BI desktop. This is our final table. And now I will click on close and apply. Now let us first import our Sankey chart. So I'll search for it in here and click on add. Now let us get this chart, and in source I'll get the source, in target I'll get the target, and sum of count in weight. And this creates our chart. And the last thing that we need to do is we just need to update these colors. So I'll just update them. I'll go to formatting pane, click the visual, and in nodes we're going to change these colors. And this is how the final visual will look like. I hope you've learned something new from this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one.